After you finish covering your project, you're going to bring it up to me and I'm going to give you a score. This score does not go into the grade book, but it gives you a heads up as to where your sculpture is currently at. Step 18 is where you learn to experiment with lettering. Even if you do not have lettering on your project, I'm required to teach you some nuances with painting and how to use an X-Acto blade, so you do have to do this step. You're going to go ahead and turn to page 9 in your packet. On page 9, there are 3 things that you are going to complete, and we're going to complete them out of order from what you see here. The first one you're going to do is the marker, and you are going to create a Q that is 3-dimensional. So in order to do this, you lightly draw in pencil a small Q. Once that is done, then you're going to stay the same distance away from your original line all the way around. Then you are going to do the inside, and you notice my letter fills the space. That's what we're trying to achieve. Once it's in pencil, you're going to switch to Sharpie. You're going to get both your ultrafine Sharpie and your fine tip Sharpie. You're going to get the ultrafine Sharpie because we want to get the nuances of this letter. So you're first going to trace it, the whole thing, the outside and the inside in the ultrafine. Once it is all traced, then you can go in and fill in completely with the fine Sharpie. If you get any little boogers that go outside of your space, the way that you fix that is you go back to your pencil and you just create this bigger than it originally was, and then you want to match it up on the other side, and no one will ever know that that happened. Then to go to the cut paper with the X-Acto blade, you are going to get a little chunk of yellow paper. I want you to measure this when you get it, that you only need 3 inches by 3 inches. You're going to put it over top of your space, and you're going to lightly draw out the square that the Q needs to fit in. You are going to use the same technique as before. You will lightly draw the letter in the center, and then you will stay the same distance away as you go around. This time though, you will use the X-Acto blade. The X-Acto blade, make sure to get your number. Then as soon as you take the cap off the X-Acto blade, you put it on the back. If for some reason your cap wants to fall off, then go ahead and tuck it underneath your blue mat so that it doesn't get lost. A lost X-Acto blade cap is the same as losing the blade. We will not dismiss the class until both are found, and once it drops on the floor, it's really hard to find them. Then, to use this tool, you're first just going to practice off to the side. You push the point in, and then you pull towards yourself, and I want you to practice using less and less pressure to see how little pressure you can use and still get the blade to cut. The blade has to be held, if you look at it on the paper, at a not straight up and down and not laying flat, but at a 45-degree angle. You always have to have a blue mat underneath you. Then the trick to the X-Acto blade is when you get to a corner, don't twist your hand. Instead, with the point into the blue mat, you twist the paper. You will also notice that I use my other finger and I rest, spin in the wrong way, on top of the blade. And then you would go around this whole piece, twisting the paper as you needed to. Little tip is the shiny side, that is your sharp edge, and then the other side is dull. If you ever cut yourself with one of these blades, you'll want to get a Band-Aid right away and notify the teacher. The cuts can be deeper than they appear. Once you cut out your Q, you're going to go ahead and glue it down. To do that, you're going to get out the tacky glue. This glue might be clogged, so you just get the poker and you double check and make sure that the glue can come out. You flip over your letter. Going to the dirty workspace in your classroom, you are going to put down little teeny tiny glue dots around your Q, and then you are going to plop it into place. Do not hot glue it, do not tape it with some duct tape. It won't count unless it looks like that. The next section is the paint. You're going to need to get your container from your teacher. Make sure to put your name on it so it doesn't get lost. You're going to get half a squirt of yellow paint. You are going to draw out the Q before you start, only you are only going to draw half of the Q. You are then going to get a small paintbrush it's technically a number 6 and it has a green handle. Then to use the paint in the messy work area, you scoop it up with the brush. Your hand goes down on the metal and you hold it just like a pencil. And then as you start, you kind of start in the center. And then as you gain confidence, you can push that paint over to the edge. And then the trick is to twist your paper. Again, you start in the center, and as you get more confident, you push your paint to the edge. Students often think they can paint without the pencil, so that's why I have you do part of it with no pencil to see how well you are able to paint in this circle. But the trick is we're going to do a funny looking Q. You're going to paint in this half, and then you also have to do the cross section piece on this side. If you are able to paint well enough, then you would not need to draw out letters before going to the paint. Once you have all these done, based on how you did and how your partners did, you will go ahead and select which option you are going to use for your sculpture, and it could be that you're going to use a combination of all three. All the partners do need to agree. You would write your lettering method here, and then you would bring your packet for me to sign off on.